what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy it.
Let's talk a little LSU, South Carolina. As Jake, I think there's a couple interesting angles here. I want to get into the film, but before that, I want to talk about the vibes a little bit because it is interesting. It's such a week-to-week sport. How different South Carolina's vibes are from week go. Coming out of week one, they were supremely frustrated, really struggled against Old Dominion, almost lost, found a way to win, but
Jason Henderson.
Lexington. Yeah, I mean, hey, Henderson's a dog, dude. I backed off. Okay, I backed off for a reason.
I think he had like 3 tackles in the game, by the way, though. So,
wow.
I know. I was shocked you didn't lead with that, but you know,
interesting because I told you I'm off the story. I'm like, sometimes look, I'm not a journalist. I'm not a journalist at all. But I'm not a journalist that's going to chase the story that's going to get me in trouble. If this is a movie and the boss is like, hey, I need you to back off. I'm like, okay, sure, whatever, dude. Okay, yeah.
Right.
We're going to bury it. We're just going to bury it. We're never going to. Okay, yeah. Okay, great. Perfect. So South Carolina really struggles out of week one. Then they go to Lexington and it all comes together. They whooped Kentucky's ass on both sides of the line. Lenore Sellers shows some interesting growth points, and all of a sudden the vibes could not be higher in South Carolina. Game day's coming back for the first time in a decade. And then you look at LSU, and this is about as close to okay, here's my question to you. Is this the low point of the Brian Kelly era right now? Sounds like you're
No. I mean, look, it's a fair question. So I felt worse after you lost to Florida State, like in the first game, like first ever game. Like that was tough. And I'm like,
the manner in which you lost was brutal, but I do feel like it was kind of like, first game.
A little bit, but I think it was the manner that I could not just get over. And the block extra point after you had a block kick before, you didn't fix it. It's like, who's the special teams coordinator here? What's it going to be? That was low for me. I mean, it's up there. Yeah, just because you lost the opening game. Although you played much better, in my opinion, than you did the first 2 times that you lost the opening game, which is weird to say. Like there's no moral victories, but the tape was much better.
Yeah.
I think it was just really the thing that has me like questioning where you're going to go is not only that you struggled with Nichols. Like we've all been in that game. Like we have all been in that game against a state school where it was like a muddy first half. You didn't cover the spread, whatever. I think for me, it was the physicality and the way Nichols brought the fight to you that I can't get over. And that's what I'm wondering, like, is that a switch that you can just flip on and be the team that is more physical? Because that was something I thought this team was going to have from the get-go. And defensively, it was almost like you're going to have that to be competitive. It's going to have to be, too gritty to be pretty, like I always talk about. And there's some players doing that. I don't want to throw a blanket on everybody. But the thing that concerned me was the physicality in which Nichols played with offensively in their run game. I mean, they had offensive linemen that were, 5'11", 280, but getting after you.
They are not the most impressive of specimens. I will say this, like I'm not impressed with South Carolina's offensive line at all. I think it's a big weakness. Yeah. But after watching, to your point, after kind of watching what Nichols did, it's a little, it's like, okay, even if that is a weakness, I'm still not sure that you can take advantage of said weakness. So again, I think both teams are entering the game in massively different headspaces, which is something to keep an eye on, as LSU is maybe feeling a little bit of pressure, maybe feeling a little wobble in their confidence, whereas South Carolina is about as confident
Now
as
this
they've been in a
is.
while.
I'm going to throw this one to you, T, because we haven't talked about it yet. This is the third year in a row that they've beaten Kentucky.
Yeah.
Shane Beamer has Mark Stoops' number, and you go back and you look at 2022 on the road in Lexington. Kentucky was number 13 in the country, and you beat them 24-14. And at that time, you had a 500 record, I believe, or maybe you were 3-2. You go back to last year, you weren't very good. You were 5-7, and you had to win 3 of your last 4 to get to 5-7. You beat Kentucky again last year, 17-14. How much of it, in your opinion, is matchup? How much of it is Shane Beamer versus Mark Stoops? Or do you think that it's just, look, every game's going to be singular and they went out there and they just beat them? Like, do you take anything with them beating them 3 times in a row?
I don't, because of how overwhelming this year's film was, right?
Right.
It was bad. I mean, Kentucky looks like just garbage on this film.
They set offensive football back 15 years on this film.
Kennard and Stewart were feasting on Kentucky's offensive tackles. They were like Jim Cantor getting some shrimp burrow cupcakes. They were out there slamming their faces as much as they wanted. But really it was both sides of the ball just getting, and it's not even a good South Carolina offensive line, really. Like Deion Walker was fine for Kentucky defensively, but no, that Kentucky offensive line was horrible. Brock Vandegrift, they have a complete inability to throw the ball. But I like the South Carolina defensive line across the board. Like I said, it's Kennard, who's going to be number 5 this week, guys.
Yeah.
It's Dylan Stewart, the freshman phenom, who's number 6. Number 90, TJ Sanders is a good interior pass rusher. He's a redshirt junior, 6'4", 300. Very experienced. They got DeAndre Jules, number 99, 6'4", 315. He's a 6th-year guy, right? So They have a lot of great experience on that D-line mixed with the freshman phenom in Kennard. And so, and they used it to just absolutely dismantle Kentucky. And so that's where I think the overall kind of theme of this game is that it is strength on strength and weakness on weakness. South Carolina's pass defense, especially, is one of the best in the SEC, at least statistically right now. But I think it's very, very good from what we saw in film. And obviously that's LSU's strength. Whereas South Carolina's offense is still bumbling a bit, but I don't have much faith that LSU's defense is going to be the one to stop them. So who can win the strength battle? Who can win the weakness on weakness battle? And even zoom in specifically, guys, watching Kennard and Stewart go against Emory Jones and Will Campbell is going to be the premier matchup of the day. I want to encourage everybody, when you watch this football game, when the ball is snapped, especially on obvious passing downs, please do not watch the quarterback. You shouldn't do this anyway, most weeks, because the quarterback does nothing. Please do not watch the quarterback. Watch the tackles and the ends battle each other, and then the ball will get thrown, or they'll guide you naturally to the quarterback, right? And then so you see what happens. But watch the hand fighting, watch the bend, watch the technique, because that's where the real game is going to be decided.
And so there's a couple of matchups, and I agree with you. That's going to be fascinating because LSU's really good at pass protection, but we all know, the run game has a bunch of room for growth, and then South Carolina gets after the passer, so that's certainly a matchup. But also, like you mentioned, South Carolina's offense, they sputtered even against Kentucky. They found ways to make plays when they had to, but the highest graded South Carolina offensive player was 68.6 in this game against Kentucky. They had no one in the 70s, 80s, or 90s. And so it is a unit that you have to take advantage of. Now, they've got some matchups that, if you're an LSU fan, kind of make you nervous. We talked about them. They have 3 guys that can go out there at quarterback and run the football, and they can do it well. And they're all 3 kind of different guys. And so
you think all 3 play?
I would assume that Robbie Ashford has some. After seeing Guggenheim and the way that he was able to go out there and gain some yards, I would be surprised if you don't see at least 2. Now, Luke Doty, that's just kind of me projecting that maybe because he played quarterback in the past. He's a big 225, 30-pound guy. And, I mean, he plays tight end now. So he would kind of give you also what Guggenheim gave Nichols. Like, I just think that if it was me, if I was the offensive coordinator, I would certainly have something for him. So that's just kind of me projecting. But you pair that with Rocket Sanders, who at one time in his career was a top 3 SEC back. Now, he hasn't been that guy in a couple of years and maybe a year and a half, but he's still talented. He still had an okay week a week ago.
Sorry, Jake, I lost you for a second at the end there.
I was just saying, like, are they going to try to control the clock? Because that's their advantage. That's what they feel like their advantage is after what Nichols did to you a week ago.
Yeah,
they're going to try to do that. Keep it away from your best asset, which is Garrett Nussmeier.
Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.